For more on this year's Juneteenth commemorations, we can cross now to Houston, Texas, and speak to Gerald Horne, a professor of history and African American studies at the university there. Thank you very much for being with us here on France 24. Now, first of all, given the current climate in the US following, of course, the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis, this is very much a Juneteenth with a difference. But just how different is it, or could it be, in your view?
Well, events of the past few weeks have been breathtaking. Ever since May 25th, with the lynching on camera of Mr. Floyd in Minneapolis, there have been protests in this country from the Atlantic to the Pacific, with solidarity marches in Auckland, New Zealand, Sydney, Australia, London, England, Berlin, France. Who would have thought, certainly not myself, that the country of Burkina Faso would be pushing a resolution at the United Nations Human Rights Council in Geneva, Switzerland, calling out the, quote, systemic racism, unquote, of the United States of America. And this is a dramatic move and only bodes well for the process of reparations.
Now, slavery in the US was abolished 155 years ago today, but many say that huge amounts of work still need to be done to stamp out racism in many pockets of a US society. What are the most urgent steps to be taken, in your opinion?
Well, incarceration. As you know, Black people in the United States are probably the most heavily imprisoned population on planet Earth, just as the United States has one of the most significant and larger populations of prisoners on planet Earth. Secondly, there's the question of unemployment. In light of the pandemic, Black workers have been hit very hard, not to mention healthcare, because we've also been hit hard by COVID-19, because we're often the people driving the subway trains, driving the buses. We're the frontline workers. So those, I would say, are the top priorities as we speak.
Now, Juneteenth has been a huge date in the US calendar for decades, but it's still not a national holiday. Why is that?
Well, as you know, there's a very strong right-wing movement in the United States. There's a very strong conservative movement in the United States. All you have to do is look at the oath in the Oval Office to get a glimpse of what I'm speaking about. I'm referring to, of course, the 45th U.S. President, Mr. Trump. And I'm afraid to say that he has significant popular support. His popularity ratings rarely dip below 40. I cannot guarantee you that he will be defeated on the first Tuesday in November. And he is a major stumbling block to justice for Black people.
Now, you were talking there about Donald Trump. Just what do you make of his policies and stance in general towards the African American community in the United States?
It ranges from rank hostility to gross indifference. First of all, he, as you may have heard, has now taken credit for the popularity of Juneteenth, which is recognized by 47 states in the District of Columbia. That's like the rooster taking credit for the rising of the sun. He's having a rally in Tulsa, Oklahoma tomorrow. Tulsa, Oklahoma was the site of a major massacre of Black people 99 years ago, 300 killed and dumped in a mass grave. Many in the Black community in Tulsa are objecting to his presence, as well they should.
Now, thousands of people across the US are coming out this Friday to commemorate this 19th century event. But how likely is it that this current 21st century president will listen and act on their calls for change?
Well, the prospects are slim and none with regard to the 45th U.S. president. But fortunately, as of yet, he's not a dictator. There's a distinct possibility that he can be turned out of office. And certainly if that happens, I think we can look forward to brighter days.
OK, Gerald Horne in Houston, Texas. Thank you very much for being with us here on France 24.